What is up, everyone? My name is Brandon, guys. This is Creative Guys Productions. Thanks for clicking on the link. Thanks for hanging out. This is just going to be me talking. I'm not making anything at the moment. So that's not up your alley. I'm sorry. I promise I will have something else out here soon. So 2 days ago, Erick Rivers over in Texas, he starts out his video kind of in a similar way. Hey, I'm not going to be making any knives. And he kind of goes into this conversation revolving around kind of how he got into knife making and what he's hoped to accomplish, what he has accomplished, things of that nature. And so I thought I'd go ahead and just copy him, just blatantly rip him off. Hey, Erick, this is for you. Listen, Erick's a great dude. I met him at Blade Show last year, 23. Hopefully I'll see him again this year for 24. And had a good time with him. I had some drinks. He was not drinking one evening, and it's kind of shooting the shit. And I've tried to keep in contact with him as much as possible. You know, he's got the TRE, the Rivers Experience Facebook group, and you know it's actually I don't know how many people are in that group, but those that are in there are pretty active, and it's actually one of the better knife making groups that I'm in. I enjoy them. But anyway, so I got to thinking, I was like, how did I get into knife making? And I know exactly how. It's hilarious. And if you don't know me, if I were to tell you how, it probably wouldn't make a lick of sense. So something about me, I am ADHD is all hell. All right, I'm squirrel shiny thing. Ooh, look at that. That's pretty. Let's go grab it. I am a bit of a nerd. I go down rabbit holes and I soak up information. If I become interested in something, I need all of the information on it, all of it from every direction. It's a little bit of a problem because you mix that with ADD and all of a sudden, ooh, there are rabbit holes everywhere. So yeah, I'm also an avid coffee drinker, so cheers. This is gonna be a little bit laid back. It's gonna be kind of long because I'm just gonna relax and kind of have a conversation. Anyway, I come from a sales background, car business specifically, mainly for the most amount of time. It sucked the living life out of me. I was pretty good at it. Again, it was one of those things where I had to learn everything there was to learn about sales. Only problem is I hated fucking selling. Excuse my language. I need to try not to do that. I hated selling. How do I say this? One of the first things you learn in a sales job is that buyers are liars. Now, everybody and their mother knows that your used car salesman is the most dishonest person that you've ever met and always will be, and that's just how things are. That's not true. Buyers are liars, and buyers are the biggest liars. And when you're going in day after day and dealing with people lying to you constantly, there are people who are built for it, and I am not one of those people. There are people who are built for sales. I determined after 8 years that I'm not one of those people. And I was all over the map, position-wise. I worked at 4 different stores. So it wasn't like a environmental thing. It was the job. Anyway, after I got out of that, I was doing some photo and video work while I was doing that and the little bit of free time that I had. Again, photography was always something that I was really interested in. And so when I got into it, I dove all the way into it. And then the photography, no matter what, we live in 2024 right now, but we're talking back in 14, 15, 16. Photography inevitably leads to video work because they're kissing cousins. It's gonna happen. Especially if you're trying to make any money, you're gonna have to do both. It's just all there is to it. So got into video work, started doing that. So when I left the car business, I started out on my own doing photo and video work, and then I went to I went back behind the bar, which is what I did through college, bartended downtown Indianapolis for a few years. I still miss it. If there's a job, like all right, here you go, rabbit trail. I remember my first surfing job. I was in college. I worked at Red Robin. If you're from Indianapolis, up on 96 and Michigan Road. And that restaurant had just opened. A buddy of mine got me a job there. He worked at the one out in Plainfield. Shout out Corey Settle. And I remember this lady who was a regular of mine who would come in, and I was serving there, I wasn't bartending. And her and her little son would always come in. They'd always ask for me when they were there. And they were there like once or twice a week. Like they loved them some Red Robin. That dirty bird had cooked. But I remember talking to her one day, and I don't remember what brought it up. And she says, I was in business school at the time. I was, double majored in accounting and finance at IUPUI, Indianapolis University, Purdue University, Indiana University, Purdue University, Indianapolis is what that stands for. So it was an IU degree from Indianapolis campus. But you're so good at this, And I looked at her and I said, doesn't it suck? Like of all the things I could be good at, this is it. This is what I have. This is my future. And I still remember that. And mind you, I'm 22 at the time, when this 21, 22, maybe 23, I don't know. But God, that sucked. But then, I'm in my 30s and back behind the bar after having, a career that I swear to God took 20 years off my life. And I love it. It's my whole social life. So anyway, I ended up leaving there and was doing the photo and video work full time for about a year and a half. 2019 was my best year financially doing photo and video work. I made a lot more money in the car business, but doing photo and video work was the best year I had. 2020 started out strong. And then what happened in 2020? Yeah. The line I used to use was COVID shut me down, but let's be honest. And also, let's be honest, I have 250 subscribers. I'm not monetized, so I'm gonna say it. The government shut me down. Not really, because I wasn't forced to shut down. However, there was enough fear in people that I was effectively shut down. And I had some other contracts that I was working, but it really kind of put the brakes on it. Not bad enough that I couldn't survive, but bad enough that I had some time on my hands, let's say. And so what do? I go down a YouTube rabbit hole and start watching all of these knife making channels. Now, and Eric, when he was talking about it, he said, I watched Forge of Fire and that didn't, that's not what turned me on. And that's true. Like I watched Forge of Fire for years, not religiously, but like when it was on or clips on YouTube or something like that. I still watch the clips on YouTube. I'm not really a TV watcher, but I will watch the clips on YouTube and whatnot. And that didn't, I'm like, oh yeah, this is cool. Like I'm a guy, like I like to watch things be made. But that didn't like trigger I want to do that. And I don't know what maker I watched on YouTube did trigger that. Like I think I've probably watched every video Walter Sorrells has made over the last 10 years. And I probably caught up with, the previous 7 years within a month of all this taking place. Jeremy up in Canada with Simple Little Life, loved his videos. He's real, both of those guys are really good at explaining what they're doing and why they're doing what they're doing. Unfortunately, I don't have that particular talent, which is why I have no desire to teach on YouTube, because I'm not a good teacher. There's a caveat to that I'll come back to later if I remember, but scroll shiny thing. I know I watched some of Erick's videos back then. Dennis Tyrell Knife Works. God, I should know his name, but I can't tell you. I'd have to look it up. Redbeard, I think it's Redbeard Ops is his channel name. He and I chat back and forth on Twitter a bit. He was one I really got into. He's really good at explaining exactly what he does and how he's doing it. The most hilarious, I find it hilarious, ironic. I don't know what the term is. I find it funny. Thing about all of these guys isn't their similarities, but their differences. You take a guy like Redbeard Ops. I really should have his name on tip of my tongue, and I don't. I'm sorry. And Dennis Tyrell. And they're both very similar. I don't know if, God, I'm just gonna call him Redbeard. I feel like that's disrespectful, but it is what it is. This is who you're dealing with. But I don't know what he does for a living. I don't think he makes knives for a living. He doesn't seem like he does. I don't think YouTube is his full. I assume he has a full-time job. I could be wrong. If I had to put money on it, I'd say he was an engineer of some sort. I know Dennis Tyrell is an engineer of some sort, and it's so evident because of the way that they go about their problem solving, as opposed to Erick, who, when you watch him, or Walter, when you watch him, Walter especially, because Walter, I believe, is a writer. So he's got that artistic flair to him, and it's focusing on my finger. These damn autofocus things on these cameras. Yeah, well, I think Walter's a writer, and so he has a more artistic end to it. Erick has a more artistic end to it. Of course, there are hundreds and dozens more. Is it Ali Knives? Is another guy. It might not be the right name. It's something like that. It starts with an A. It's like Ali or Aileen or something like that. He has a very artistic bend to him. It's very interesting seeing the differences in the way that they go about problem solving for their builds. Jeremy's Simple Little Life, I would say he's a lot more artistic. Although he has kind of a fabrication background, so I'd say probably more technically savvy, meaning like he Erick jokes around about not being a good welder. I'm a horrible welder, by the way. Jeremy's a fantastic welder. Like, he's done that. But he also takes more of an artistic bend to it, whereas like your Redbeards and your Dennis Tyrells is very calculated and very planned, and it's just interesting that the differences in the dichotomies there. I have a more artistic bend. I don't have that uber attention to detail that engineers have. I've sold a lot of cars to engineers, and they're the worst people to sell cars to. Let me tell you, I had a guy, I was at a Mazda store, and this is 13 or 14, I'd say. It was right when they discontinued the previous body style for the Mazda 6, and the new body styles were coming out. And the new body styles had the new Skyactiv engines in them. So they got rid of the old 3.6 or 3.7 and the 2.5 4-cylinder that was in the previous year, and the previous like 10 years really. That old 3.7, that's the old engine they used to put in the Ford Tauruses. Rabbit trail. Anyway, this guy would come in, and literally, he came in once a week for, I'd guess, 6 months. And he'd come visit the car he wanted to buy. Or he'd visit another car because that car would sell. He would not buy that Mazda 6 until he figured out exactly what the material makeup was of the material that they made the motor mounts out of, the dampening section of the motor mounts. What? Who does that? Engineers. I worked in Greenwood, Indiana, which is Columbus is pretty close to there, and there's an Allison plant there, and there's a bunch of engineers there, and they pull engineers from people from all over the world that live in Columbus, Indiana, but a lot of engineers, and we got a lot of engineers that love Mazdas, so we got a lot of them, and holy moly, I used to laugh at this, and I'd sit and talk to him, and he'd come in, he'd sit for an hour, 45 minutes. We'd sit there and shoot the shit. And what's great about engineers is they're a lot like knife guys, a lot like car guys, a lot like tradesmen, construction workers, framers, drywallers, painters. They love to tell you everything that they have ever learned over the course of their career. And so you can get an incredible crash course from these guys in 15 minutes, and they have no problem sharing it with you. It's actually really awesome. So anyway, bringing it in, coming back. I get on this YouTube rabbit hole on the side, man. I want to make knives. I love knives. I always have knives. Like, no matter what, I always have a knife on me, which it would be silly if I didn't have a knife on me right now, but like throughout my entire life. I started with my grandfather. My grandfather always had a knife, and my grandfather is probably the single most important person in my life. And he obviously always had a pocket knife on him, and very blue collar guy, and he kind of almost instilled that in me to the point where, like, that's what men do. Men have a knife. Like, it's like the grass is green. Like, that's just the way that it is. You have the knife on you. You have the tools you need. Now at this point, it's actually in the truck. I don't have it on me right now, so I'm making a side point. But I always have a knife on me. I always have a flashlight on me. This is a little I actually got this at Blade Show night core. Well, it's a 1,000 lumen light, and it was $70. And I'm like, I can't not buy that. Usually I have a Surefire sitting beside my bed. That's what I used to carry every day, but now I've been carrying this, and it's so thin that it just slides in your pocket like absolutely nothing. Side note, I'm shooting this at f2.8 right now. No, I'm sorry. I'm shooting this at f2 right now, which is how I'm getting the black background blur. So even this being 6 inches from my face, it's probably blurry. But I bet if I come up and I gotta get it right. There, now you can see it. Isn't that great? This is my, there it is. This is my photography nerd coming out. God, I love a shallow depth of field. Come back. It makes me so happy. Anyway, so you always have a knife. So like, I have knives everywhere. And I'm also like, Erick said that he was a knife collector. I'm not a knife collector. And when I say that, I don't mean that I don't collect knives, because I absolutely do. However, when I think knife collector, I think of somebody who has like really nice knives in like a case. Safe Queens. That's not who I am as a person. I like having things. It's a problem. I have too many things. And I fully admit that. But I use those things. Like, for instance, I'm recording from one of my cameras right now. This is another one of my cameras. Exact same camera as that, just different lens on it. It's a Canon 6D Mark II. Old DSLRs. I'm outdated, I know. I really want to upgrade to a mirrorless. I've got my eye on the EOS R6 Mark II, and I'm debating between that and the R5. That's neither here nor there. Point is I have a lot of things, but I use them as tools. So that's the kind of collector that I am. I have 4 cameras, 4 DSLRs. I use them like tools. They're beat up, they're scratched. This lens, I've had this lens since probably 2015. It's a Tamron 24-70 f2.8. And this lens is almost always on a body. It's just a really good utility lens. Like, it's a good focal range. It's 2.8 all the way through. Usually if I'm shooting with a different lens, this lens is still on a body so I can get to it quickly. But if you look at this, like let's see if I can hold it up. The thing there, come on, focus. There we go. Is like not even attached anymore. The grip for the zoom ring. You probably can't see it, but at the very front of it, there was a ring. Come on, you can do it. Nope, not gonna do it. There's a ring right around the front of the lens here that popped off. I lost the lens hood. I don't know how long ago. I've got the lens cover here somewhere, but who knows where it's at. Like, I use my tools and I'm kind of abusive. That said, I always really liked knives, so I started watching these knife making videos, and I'm like, man, I want to make a knife. Not I want to make knives, like I want to make a knife. And so I go down this rabbit hole, and I'm like, all right, well, let's get some tools. I don't have these kind of tools. I saw the price of these tools, and I'm like, okay, let's get some cheap tools. Let's get real cheap with it. So I went and I bought like an $80 angle grinder. That's actually still, it's around here somewhere. I don't use it anymore. And honestly, the only reason is because it plugs in, and I got my Milwaukee M18 angle grinder, and I love that damn thing because I can just take it wherever I need to go. So I got one of those, and I made a knife with an angle grinder. I used a method that Outdoor 55, I think is his YouTube channel. Outdoors 55, something like that. He was another YouTuber that I went down watching. He still makes videos, but not very many. And I went down and started watching him, and learned how to heat treat with a campfire and a hair blower. I literally dug a hole in my backyard in my ridiculous HOA neighborhood in Brownsburg, Indiana, built a campfire, ran a hair dryer through a pipe to it. That's how I heat treated, and literally some olive oil in one of those like, you know, you go to a cookout, you bring cookout out, like that kind of tin platter. Yep, that's what did it. Looked like shit, but I made it. So I thought that was super cool. Well, then I went and got an Arbor Freight 4x36-inch belt sander. Horrible decision. But I used that for a little bit, or I tried to. It did not work out well. That thing was terrible. And started doing that. And then I got like a little 2-burner, you know, one of those Amazon forges. And I used that. I still have one of those out there. It has 3 burners. That I can pull out and still like, it's just sitting there. Like I might use it in the future. It's longer than the one I use now. So I figure if I need a longer forge for something, I can just pull that one out and use it. You know, then I got a Grizzly 2x72. It's actually sitting right to the right of me. It's a 2x72 belt grinder. So it's my first 2x72. But on one side is a belt grinder, on the other side it has a buffing, I think you can attach a buffing wheel to. Use that for years. Yeah, year and a half, something like that. And then I got my Revolution that I love, of course. You've seen that in all his videos. But so it just started compounding. Like I call it gas, call it gear acquisition syndrome. But it's real, like the whole process is really about problem solving and being able to scratch that creative itch. At least that's what it is for me. You know, I did photo and video work forever, and then, you know, I moved down to Florida, and I'm out here in the middle of nowhere. And I talked about how the car business kind of ruined me. I used to be a very social person. The car business kind of ruined that. I don't want to go anywhere. I got my little home, you know, homestead out here, and I am a happy camper. The only time that I leave the house and want to is to go into town and go to jiu-jitsu class. Like, that's it. That's the only social activity I have throughout the week, really. Or that's consistent anyway. But yeah, so that's how it kind of all evolved. You know, kind of where I come from and how it kind of got to where I'm at now, where again, I still really enjoy it. I'm getting this week. I haven't been out here all this week, and the reason why, 2 reasons. One, I had to take a bunch of photos of knives to get them up on my website to sell them, because that's how I'm paying for new tools that I inevitably will buy. But another reason is I kind of got the knife maker's equivalent to writer's block. I'm like, man, like, I've made some new things here lately, new designs and new techniques that I've employed, and I got them down pretty good. And I don't feel like doing it again. So I'm like, well, what do I want to do now? And I could not come up with something. And so I was just like, well, I'll get stuff I've been putting off done. So I went and took photos. There's, you know, 5 new knives on the website. One sold last night. I went and took that to the post office today. So I got that done. I got some reels made because Lord knows we got to make these damn reels. I absolutely hate vertical video, by the way, just side note. Drives me, I hate that that's the fad. It goes against everything that I hold near and dear when it comes to like visual arts, but whatever. So yeah, I got some of that done. Spent some time with the dogs. Actually got some work done that I need to do. Actually got some laundry done that I need to do, which was, listen, it's a plus, and I'm real good at putting that shit off. But yeah, so now I'm out here today. I've been talking for 25 minutes, so I apologize for that. And now I'm ready to start something else. So let's cut this off because it's been too long. I actually looked and Erick's was 23 minutes and mine's now 25 and a half. I know I talk too much. It's a problem. Hopefully you've enjoyed my little life story, little segment of it. I've enjoyed telling it. If you can't tell, I've had a smile on my face the whole time. It's good to think back on some of the memories, especially like my grandpa. I'm thinking about like all his knives. I've got some of them inside, and they're all, he's the same way. They're all beat to shit, because he used them, you know, and all my knives are beat to shit because I use them. I have some relatively expensive knives, and I'm like, I'm not just gonna not carry this and not use it. Like, hell, if I need to cut out a box, if I don't have a box cutter close, I will use that damn knife, but I try to keep those everywhere so I don't, but you know, that's the thing. Anyway, thank you for watching. I would love to hear in the comments, if you've made it this far, we'll see. I'd love to hear how you got into knife making, if you're a knife maker. If you want to get into knife making, what are the steps you're thinking about taking? Let's start there. I'm not gonna tell you how to take them, because there are a lot of people who know a lot better than me, but I'm curious as to what you're thinking, and are you thinking along the same lines as I am? Anyway, thanks so much. I will see you in the next one, and who knows what it's gonna be, I haven't decided yet. We'll get there though. Later.